Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Yes, this is episode 23 of the Day In, Day Out podcast. Today's guest is Gregory Allen Reed. He basically, fascinating chap. I've known him for about a year and a half to 2 years. I got to know him through Instagram. Basically, he was a bodybuilder back in the day in the 80s and 90s, took 21 years off, came back, and he just rocked it like a rock star. Got his professional badge, and basically, yeah. So we touched on the world of bodybuilding, jeeping, and his time as a Marine. So please enjoy the show. Let me know how it goes, and yeah, if you can take a moment or two to take a either subscribe or yeah, give Mr. Reed a follow. That would be much appreciated. Have a good day. Base. Okay, we are recording. Here we go.
Yes, we are.
Yes. Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Happy Monday to one and all. Welcome to episode, oh my God, I think it's number 23 of the podcast.
Oh, wow.
If it's not 23, it's definitely 22. But nevertheless, I am very privileged to have Gregory the Hammer Reed here with me today. I have to say, this guy, I think I've known him now for over a year and a half, possibly 2 years. But the thing what I always remember about him on Instagram is he would start he started most of his videos with, "Oh, yeah, training partner." Like back then, yeah, his videos were captivated. He had a beard, but yes, here he is today. How are you, sir? How are you?
Murray, thank you so much for having me on your podcast today. I feel grateful. I feel honored because I see your face all the time, and you have nothing but great positive words. And this is what's needed all the time, not just in this time of this thing that we're going through.
Most kind, sir. Most kind.
Yeah. But Gregory Allen Reed, I can now say that I am a retired competitive bodybuilder of the sport. 2017 is when I finally obtained my pro status as a master's, and I was actually 54. And I had taken 21 years off from competing. And in that time frame, I became an established bowler, believe it or not.
Bowler?
Yes. So I bowled for straight 20 years, competition leagues. I've got some 500s, I got a couple of 800s, and I really stuck it to it, because when I took my break from bodybuilding, I needed something to do to keep me competitive, and bowling had been one of the few things that I really had gotten to as a little kid back in the day. So I picked it back up again. And when I was training a client for her first competition ever, she did a bikini show. This was 2016.
Okay.
And I got her ready for her first bikini show. And I hadn't been to a bodybuilding show for years at that point. And of course, I went with a supporter and stuff like that. And I got there early enough to actually sit in the audience and see what this new class, what this new category was like. Because when I left bodybuilding, it was still, so many shows a year, so many national shows, this and that and the other. And it really took, perseverance and, really being in the game to make it to that pro spot. But they'd come up with Classic Physique. I believe 2016 or something like that, maybe earlier than that. So I had a chance to see, what this new category was about. And as this lineup came out, and it was a professional lineup, so I got to see the best of the best.
Yeah.
They're coming out on stage. And one of the things that really makes the Classic Physique different from open bodybuilding are the trunks that you're wearing. So Classic Physique, they basically look like, swimming trunks, or Speedos is what they're called.
Right. Yes.
Bodybuilding has a bikini brief to to pose in. So you got a bikini brief that looks like girls, really fancy underwear with
Yeah,
really
yeah,
thin
yeah.
sides, you know what I'm saying? And your classic physique was like regular, tight boxers,
Mm-hmm.
so the sides were really, and as we're coming out and lining up, I'm looking at them and I'm saying to myself, I still have all my parts, I still have all that.
Mm.
And, mind you, for the 20 plus years that I was bowling and hadn't really been into the sport, but still working out just to keep good shape. I kept things working in shape, but I wasn't at that level of, focus and competition until I saw that at my client's show, and I decided to put myself back into it.
Outstanding. Like, so with like, basically you kept yourself in shape, you were like still going at it, but not at the level of like bodybuilding. Like what,
Right.
like, so from being in sort of good shape, well, like most probably better than the average, how long
Mhm.
did it take you to get into the sort of a pro bodybuilder level? Was it a month, 2 months?
When I decided that I was going to get back into it,
Mm.
that would be, see, the first show was at the end. Yeah, it was the Excalibur. So it was the end of 2016. And I had already made up my mind to start training with an intention
Mm.
to go back on stage. So from that point of making my decision to the first show, it was probably about 6 weeks out from that first show.
Whoa, 6 weeks.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. I had been training with intent, but it made that turn. And one of the trainers at the gym, which was another bodybuilder, I was asking for his eyes. And I'm like, what do you think? Can I compete, in this show in about 6 weeks? And he looks at me and goes, yeah, you can. So 6 weeks I took to get ready for the Excalibur.
Mm.
That would be the first show that I had been in 21 years not being on stage. And I made it to the first call out. All right. Now, mind you, this lineup was about maybe 18, 20 guys, and all my daughter's age, basically.
Showing them the old tricks.
Yeah. So as we're lining up and coming out there, and they're starting to, place people where they want them.
Mm.
It's like every time they moved the person, they looked at me, they moved me. They moved the person, they looked at me, they moved me, to where I was in the top 5. And I'm like, okay, this is good. I ain't been on stage in 21 years, and I made it to the top 5 with these young dudes, and then come the night show, they're naming off the top 5, and they always go from the 5th to the 1st.
Yeah.
And when they didn't say my name for 5th place, I'm like, shit, I'm in. I'm good to go. And when they titled me 4th, I threw my hands up like I had won the whole show. I'm like, you don't understand. I ain't been on stage in 21 years, and I came out the first day, and I placed 4th in this first show. That's a win for me.
Yeah, but like this is the thing. Yeah, you 21 years, like coming 4th, but like just saying you just trained for 6 weeks. That is
6 weeks. Yeah, 6 weeks at that top.
Okay.
I had been training, but I turned it on 6 weeks out.
Yeah, but like still, like, okay, look, this is the whole thing. Like, I know a number of people what train, like lift heavy weight, everything like this, but to sort of get prepped, and like this is the thing. There's like when I was living in Cambridge, there was a few people what sort of enlightened me to what the whole preparation to get ready for like competition. Look, one last name Kay, she was doing, was it 13? I think she was doing, no, it was a 26-week prep for her competition. Like, and for you to go 6 weeks, that is mental. I'm sorry, but look, I've seen, and I don't want to go there because they're God, I would be miserable. Like that's the whole thing. the whole sort
Yeah.
of diet side of it, that's the thing which will just make me miserable.
Yeah.
And like, could I do it? I think I could, but would I want to do it? No.
But yeah,
No.
exactly.
No.
And do I want anybody around me while I'm doing it? Probably not.
No. Like, look, I would have to leave my lady because I'd be like
Yeah.
grumpy all the time, walking down the street, clouds.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
But so that type of intensity, that takes a great
Yeah.
deal of focus, a great
Yeah.
deal of dedication, because wow,
Yeah.
to come
Yeah.
forth. But that was just like, yeah, step one. So what happened next? Because
So to add to that, to add to the first show, one of the motivating factors of me training that close, to the show and not being, 12 weeks out and this and that and the other. Back in the day, I think it was the 80, it might have been the 86 Mr. Olympia.
Mm.
And Mike Christian decided to go into it. I mean, I don't know what his life was like, but you only hear it because I was living I wasn't living in the Mecca yet. But in the magazines back in the day, that Mr. Olympia, 6 weeks out. He started training 6 weeks out. And I want to say that's the year he placed second or third to Lee Haney. So that always stayed in my brain because I'm like, if the Iron Warrior, Mike Christian, can do this in 6 weeks, there's no excuse. So after the Excalibur, that's 2016 in December, the next show was 9 weeks after that, which would be the Legions Classic. It was in Vegas. I have to go back in my things. So basically, I tried to get, and I use this word try. I tried to give myself a couple of weeks after the first show to not be too heavy in training and to take a break. But one of the things about my competitive career was being a very intense person, being a very deeply focused person is a great attribute, but it can also hurt you because you don't know when to turn it off. You don't know how to turn it down sometimes. So that, I would say, would be one of the biggest elements in my bodybuilding career that I really had to learn about and really had to embrace and accept and know, you know what, I'm a better coach than I am a competitor because I've put so many champions on stage, this, that, and the other. But when I did this second show, I would say the second show was just a little bit better because, I'm into the groove. So now we're looking at about another like 2 months. And, the longer you train at that level, the body molds, takes shape, it gets a certain look, blah, 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 blah. And 9 weeks later, I'm on this stage. And this time my lineup is, I think there's like 6 guys in my lineup. Okay. And it was actually a female bikini pro lineup, and they had just classic physique lineup only. So it was female bikini pro and male classic physique. So it was a smaller turnout for the classic physique competitors because of what the show was. So I came in there. I'm trying to look around and see what my competitors are. I'm trying to figure out if they have classes, if these guys are in my class. I'm looking and come to find out everybody, for the most part, that I'm seeing is in my class. So I'm like, okay, cool. These guys are a lot younger, this and that and the other. Get on stage and they label me first place. And then, again, because of the turnout, they go for the overall, and I win the overall. And I'm like, all right, we got some ground here. This is in Vegas. So I'm like, okay, this is working, Now the the one thing about the last 3 shows that I did, being away from the sport for 21 years, as being as intense and focused person as I am, I had never experienced seeing the vision of me winning on stage the way I saw it with these last 3 shows 21 years later.
Okay.
Okay. And I attribute that to when I walked away from bodybuilding in 96, and I was chasing that pro title. I was chasing that pro card. I was chasing my competitors and trying to keep up with them. And back in that day, it was very political in a sense, because we only had a few shows a calendar year that you could qualify for and turn pro at, compared to now, you can do a show once a week.
Okay.
Yeah, the promoting of bodybuilding shows and the fitness industry coming together, they have capitalized on this thing. I mean, it is massive. So, for me coming through the second time around 21 years later, I really had to get over the fact that it wasn't the way it used to be. It's not as special anymore. So I had to keep my focus, not really kill myself, but in the same sense, it's really kind of hard to do because you're such an intense warrior and you believe in getting the job complete and done every day.
Yeah.
So when I did that second show, matter of fact, when I did that first show, I had never seen the vision. And I was telling people, I'm going to do 3 shows. I'm going to win, and I'm going to turn pro. People, a few people thought I was crazy, but it was so crystal clear in my meditative mindset. It's like, wow, I've never seen this before. And that's exactly what happened. I did the first show, placed 4th. To me, that was a win. I did the second show, placed 1st in overall. Now, 6 months later, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Yeah. 6 months later was the North America. Okay. This was to be in Pittsburgh. The first time I did the North America would be 1989. That would be the first time I stepped on a national stage. Okay. This was in Vegas. I believe Johnny Morant won the men's overall, and Linda Murray, which was a reigning Miss Olympia, had won the female. The second time I did the North America would be in 91.
Okay.
Okay. 91, I won the title Mr. LA, and then 6 months later, I was doing the North America, and this time, I was amongst my own elite generation of competitive bodybuilders. Okay, that year, 91 North America, Ray McNeil won the overall. And if you followed your bodybuilding for way back, you know that Ray McNeil is no longer with us. Very brutal incident, and that was I think mid-late 90s, whatever. And that one, that third placing that I got that day at the North America, it was kind of hard because I was, I'm right there, top 3. Any one of us can be named, professional.
Yeah.
So, all right, okay, cool, 3rd place, 91, and then I went on to do 92 USA, which would be where Flex Wheeler turned pro. I had a not great showing in 93. 94, I do the USAs again. This time, what's his name? I can't remember the guy's name. He's a pretty good friend of mine. He actually found out that he had leukemia when he won that show. Man, I'm drawing blank. I'll get back to that.
Okay.
So my history of doing national shows, was there. Bring it forward 21 years later, we're in Pittsburgh. We're in Pittsburgh at the North America, and because I had seen this vision of these
Mhm.
3 shows. I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to go all out. So North America, 2017, I do 3 categories.
Oh,
I do the open category for
yeah.
classic physique. I do the masters category, classic physique, and I do masters category bodybuilding. So I did 3 lineups in one show.
That must be that must have been very intense, because like what I think people don't realize or understand is the amount of effort and energy it takes to do all the poses. Because
Yes.
they see you go, like, someone hold a pose, but to sort of really flex
Mm-hmm.
like all them sort of muscle groupings to get them to their sort of best definition, it takes a great deal of work. It takes a great deal of muscle control. Like just doing, was it the vacuum, the stomach
Mm-hmm.
vacuum thing? Like you see Schwarzenegger do it all the time, but to do that, like, it takes a hell of a lot of conditioning. So it's very much missed on that. So to do 3 in one day, like that takes a hell of a lot of conditioning and a hell of a lot of, like, how can I say, mental strength right there.
Oh, let me tell you, the mental. One of the things about competitive bodybuilding
Mm.
is you do become a scientist. Okay.
In what
From
regard?
from the place of knowing your food, your
Mm.
measurements, what you need to bring in daily to sustain, build, recover, the right way, so your body is packing on muscle.
Mm.
The fact that once you're into this, to this realm of competition of mainstream bodybuilding, there's also the element of supplementation.
Mm.
Now the supplementation is where it gets really scientific, if you will. And this is where if you're fortunate enough to have someone next to you that's got great eyes and has been around the sport and knows their way around it, then you've got like a feather in your hat, because for a competitor to do this all by themselves, it's
Mm.
almost impossible, because you can't see what the outer eye can see.
Mm.
You're driving so hard, you're driving so intense, you're driving day to day, you're sleeping, everything bodybuilding, and a lot of times we get lost in it.
Mm.
Because we're driving. That's one of the things about individual competition. um, so when you say mental strength, going into the show, I knew I just had to be ready. But once I get there, the first lineup was the open. These guys are 20s, 30s,
Yeah.
whatever. So that would be the first day of competition for me. And fortunately enough, as I found out, they'll take the top 5, which this would be one of the few times I had never been called out in the top 5. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when they, the second call out, I was the first one. Okay, so I'm like 6th out of a lineup of about 22, 23. And when I saw pictures come back, and I'm standing next to the guy that either placed first or second, and I was like, okay, I stood up next to this young man, so that was
Mm.
cool. Hours later would be my first lineup of the Masters Classic Physique, and I'm trying to look around and see who's in my category. And on this day,
Yeah.
on this one day, there were 3 guys in my category. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't as full and complete, and I keep, thinking about what I used to look like 20 plus years ago, which really not fair, but it's ingrained in you, you know. But I knew I had what I needed to make a showing. And now that there's just three of us, I'm thinking, okay, you know, because anything can happen. You don't know. I mean, I've been on stage years back to where I saw anything can happen.
Yeah.
You know, so as I'm on stage in the second lineup, you know, second category of masters, and things are going to where they're going, and then they come back to the night show, and they're starting to call them out. They didn't call me for the third. They didn't call me for the second. And I'm like, oh shit.
Praise the Lord.
Yes, I'm like, yes, it happened. You know, and what made it even more, I don't know, made it more rewarding or more, no, I won't say rewarding. What made it more kind of freaky is when you have someone in your own lineup say to you, brother, I think you got this. And you look at them, you're like, okay, but I don't know what they're looking for today because, so you never know, you know? So, you know, night show, I win that lineup, and then you have to wait around for the overall, okay? And, you know, there's a heavyweight, light heavyweight, middleweight, lightweight. And one of the guys I've competed around before, and he has some thick body parts and good taper. And I'm thinking, you know, they could pick that. He was a little shorter than me, but he had, you know, and we came back to the night show and they did their thing and they labeled me, you know, overall. I was like, oh, yes, yes. You know? And it was just amazing to know that I was driven not just by my motivation and my focus and my mental drive, but I saw it. I saw this, you know, and I'm like, wow. But, you know, I'm asking, well, how come I didn't see this before, you know, back in the day, blah, blah, blah. Now, the thing about that 21 years that I took off gave me time, or was time, for me to find who I was. All right. When I walked away from bodybuilding in '96, and I was living down in Venice, you know, the mecca of bodybuilding, and I was running one of your top supplement clothing stores called Max Muscle back in the day.
Okay.
It was pretty stressful. You know, it was stressful because I wasn't making enough money to support my bodybuilding. I didn't have enough time to train. Well, this is what I thought, like, you know, Flex and Chris, you know, Craig Titus, you know, all these guys are, you know, just down the street at Gold's Gym. My store was right down the street. For me at that time, I thought I had to train harder because, you know, I wasn't in the gym as much as they were in this stuff. So I thought I had to do more, which I really should have been doing less, you know.
Okay.
You know, so this is where, you know, that mental drive was something that kind of hurt me, because if I had been a better pair of eyes, or just a better, more calmer person, I would have known to take more time off, since I'm doing a lot more than my competitors are, you know, but I didn't really have that. So to know that I was doing more and I should have been doing less, that kind of hurt me, you know. But then again, because of divine order, it was that thing that drove me out of the sport to take a break, to do work on myself and to figure out, why am I so depressed? What's going on in my life? You know, what am I chasing? What am I doing? You know, I'm taking all these drugs. I keep getting ready for shows, and I'm only doing as better as fifth, you know. And for a good 21 years, you know, gave me the opportunity to search who this person was and who this person is. And I say, in a total of 28 years, it's taken to find that pure, organic person that has always lived inside, but because of, you know, what the past life and the upbringing and this and that, had been made up of. All that stuff is inside of you, and it's either keeping you angry or keeping you depressed or keeping you insecure, and all these things. And when it really hit me was back in 94, 95, and that's where I started to really, it's like, what, I don't know how long I can do this. I don't know how I can do this. And then I finally walked away.
Okay. With basically 21 years before, when you said like after 21 years, you found out who you were. But I would say, would you also say it came down to you had much more of a clearer understanding of better training methods for yourself because you were implementing that with other people? Other champions you've had along the way?
It was when I had that time off and then was able to come back to competition. It was my mindset. It was where I was on the inside. I wasn't chasing a pro card anymore. I wasn't trying to be known as one of the best and really make sure I stood out in this and that and the other. It was something that I knew I was good at. I could still do, and I had all this free mental space. I had all this free consciousness. All this relaxation. I'm like, wow, I can actually do this and feel like I'm not chasing it. And I believe this is how those 3 shows came up in my mental image, because I had never seen that before. Nor had I been so calm and secure and serene on the inside to be able to see anything like this.
Understood. Yeah, like one of the things, like I think many a person don't understand the difference, and I would say I'll have to put myself in that category as well. What is the difference between an amateur and having a pro card? Like, because to me, like, is there financial gain? Is it just like you get more entries to shows? Is it just a special badge or moniker?
Okay, so back in the day, when I say back in the day, I started competing in 82.
Yeah.
Okay. Back in the day, if you were a top amateur going into the nationals,
yeah,
you almost had the same kind of clout as a professional. Not as much, but you were very well known and you had some sponsor and people were talking to you, this, that, and the other. Okay. Because back then, the only way that you got your pro card is if you won first place, and depending on the show, first or second, and then it was overall. That was it. So back in the day, you had USA's, North America, and the nationals, which is the America. So that's 3 national shows. So that meant 3 or maybe 5 or something like that pro cards. The first place winner and overall, I believe, back in the day. Bring it forward, the difference now, I would have to say it's having that pro card because you did you did a national show and you won.
Yeah.
It's not as special. I mean, the only place where the pro card is still very special is in open men's bodybuilding, because it's still the gigantor of muscle building. You've got your other categories, just everything they've come up with, men's classic physique and all the fitness stuff, this and that and the other. But when you see a competitive bodybuilder of an open class, you know what you're looking at. I mean, and that still reigns high. When you bring it down to where we are, yes, the professional classic physique winner, I know a few Mr. Olympias, and they've got great physiques, and they're still, very well known. But again, bodybuilding comes back from muscle building way back in the day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, the difference I would say would be your pocketbook and your status. You know, yeah,
Mm.
the money that you're generating, in bodybuilding nowadays, really makes a difference, because you're doing guest posings, you have sponsors, blah blah blah
Mm.
blah. You come up with your own, equipment, this and that, and the other. But it's and again, my opinion, because there are so many shows a year. There are so many shows a year, and now they've even come up with more pro shows, and they've come up with more qualifying shows as well. So
Mm.
it really kind of took the special,
Right.
to be an amateur, then a top amateur, then a national competitor, then a top national competitor, and then you walk into a professional category.
Right. So basically, today the shine's taken off with the pro status a little bit, where
Yeah, look,
yeah, pro back in the day is you practically made it. You might have to do one or two other things to get there, but it was a
yeah,
case of you were just like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm a pro. So
yeah,
you are definitely known within
yeah,
the community. Well, within the
yeah,
community.
yeah.
Now, I would imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, that if
Mhm.
you're a pro today, you're not going to, like, there'll be certain elements of the community who would not even know you, from Jack Adam, like,
Yeah,
where
depending
comparison.
on, yeah. I mean, open bodybuilding is always going to be looked at as the bodybuilding world.
Mm.
Okay. The fact that they came in with this category, classic physique, this classic physique,
Yep.
and their physique,
Yeah.
the guys that come out in the board shorts. So they,
Yeah.
the cool thing about all of this is that they've opened up bodybuilding to all types of physiques that want to
Mm.
compete. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
The guys that have a great upper body, they got great calves. You don't know what the quads are like because they've got board shorts on, but from head to toe, they're flipping the bill. They look amazing.
Yeah.
Then you go to classic physique, and you've got some great physiques. I know, on top of myself, but I took a long time off. I've known guys that have brought their body weight down from bodybuilding to get into classic physique because of not wanting to compete with the bodybuilding community, because it's still a very intense world. It's like, you need to pack some pounds on. You need to have some mass if you want to compete with these guys and be claimed king of the hill.
Yeah. And like, to be claimed king of the hill in that, I make no judgments within that sort of sector. But if you're not taking something or doing something,
totally.
Yeah. there is no way.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Over the years, I've been fortunate enough to to be interviewed by certain people, and they'll ask me the question about anabolic steroid use, whatever, and I would always get kind of annoyed when I would hear other bodybuilders kind of talk about it and shy away from it, when this is what we do, this is what we are, and it just so happens that in this one sport, it's something that comes along with it because of what it is. We are guys that are going to take so many weeks out of the year to pack on muscle, to go on stage and show it off. It takes a certain equation to make that happen in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
I've been to, not a lot, but I've been to a few natural bodybuilding shows. And, even in these lineups, the guy that wins whatever, you can tell he's taking a little something, maybe not as much or as intense, but if you know what you're looking at, you can tell a physique that is natural and clean to a physique that's got a little bit of enhancement, and this is not taking anything away from anybody, because I've been both. I remember the first time I stepped on stage, I had no clue on what steroids were, but I did know that day when I was on that lineup, and it was probably about 20 plus of us.
Yeah.
And I'm shaking like a leaf, and I'm looking down the lineup as I'm on stage. I'm like, I don't look like these dudes.
It's like, what's going on here? Wait a second.
Yeah, I don't look like these guys. And a friend of mine a friend of mine that was in the Marine Corps, Danny Olson.
Mm.
He would be my first training partner on base, and he's the one that got me into competitive bodybuilding. And he's like, "Hey, you want to do a bodybuilding show with me?" I'm like, "What do you do?" He goes, "You got to shave your body and eat tuna." I'm like, "Okay, sounds easy enough." You know, so that was, yeah, that was the first time on stage in '82.
Mm.
That show, as we came off of stage for the morning show, and you know, you got your vendors set up, and one of the vendors that had a table that was out there was old time bodybuilder. Shit, I don't want to forget his name. It'll come to me. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
But yeah, he's in the history books. I can't remember his name. He told me as he's sitting behind his table, because he was selling protein supplements, always remember, train your back and your legs the hardest. He didn't really break it down too much after that, but that's all I needed to hear. I mean, this is like one of the bodybuilding greats from back in the day. And that next year, whoo, next show, I think it was March 1983, Mission Viejo Classic. I placed second.
Impressive.
Yeah,
Very impressive.
yeah.
Oh. So, wow. So basically, to get like your start into bodybuilding stem from when you were in the military.
Yeah, competing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And basically, which branch of the military were you in?
Marine Corps.
Marine Corps. How long were you serving for? Yeah.
A total 8 years.
Okay. How did you get in? Like, I'm diverging, but how did you
That's
get
right.
into? Yeah. How did you get into the Marine Corps? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So I would say the first time I saw the commercial on TV.
Okay.
All right. This dude is in this uniform. It's a white hat, a dark blue jacket, and these blue pants with the red stripes. And I'm seeing it and I'm like, whoa, that looks cool. Now I'm like 15 years old.
Okay.
So, you know, very interested. I started kind of searching out certain things, you know. Come to find out that my grandfather was one of the first Black Marines. There was another friend of my mom's that was a Marine. So I started asking questions, this and that and the other. So at 17, when I was a junior in high school, and the way things were going, you know, at home in life as a kid, wasn't really the happiest upbringing. I needed something to get me out of the house, to get me out of the place that was such a disruption back then. And I'm like, you know what? They say this is the toughest branch of the military.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to get hit and yelled at least I'll get paid for it. And it seems like a great idea. I'm out. So 6 days after graduation out of high school, I was standing on those yellow footprints. Sir, yes, sir.
Oh my Lord. That 6 days after graduation. Oh, dear me.
Because I signed up when I was a junior.
Okay.
So I was on a full year delayed entry program. So by the time I went in, I had already had a year time served.
Ooh. Yeah. I don't know, like, I think I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast where it had a Navy SEAL, and he basically did the same thing as you. He went in like pretty much right after graduation, but he signed up like a year beforehand. So like, where you been like enlisting into the Marine Corps, where was your first deployment? Are you allowed to say?
No, I was good. So boot camp was in San Diego. All right. Yeah, boot camp was in San Diego. And to every and all podcast listeners that have military life in their blood and that are Marines, they'll probably say, oh, he's a Hollywood Marine, as opposed to being on the East Coast where you would go to Paris Islands, and that's pretty much. I mean, you know, the argument would be, you know, East Coast Paris Islands, sand fleas, they'll kick your ass. West Coast boot camp, we have mountains that we have to climb, and this and that and the other. So it's a pretty cool inner rivalry, you know, back and forth.
Hollywood, that's the first time I've heard
yeah,
that.
Yeah. So boot camp was in San Diego, which also took me to Camp Pendleton for part of the training, then back to San Diego. The second duty station for military school, I was a refrigeration air conditioning mechanic. So that took me to North Carolina, Camp Lejeune.
Okay.
So we're there for about 3 months. And then my first duty station was actually El Toro, which was in Santa Ana at the time.
Okay.
So I was able to come back home, you know, for my first, I think I was there like 14 months. And then I got shipped to Okinawa, Japan.
Nice.
Okinawa, Japan.
How was that? Was it good?
The first time I went, totally different, you know, a different experience. I had never been Japan, let alone Okinawa. And I would say, yeah, it was cool because it was something different, something new. The thing I didn't like about it, when I was at my first duty station in El Toro, the shop that I was in, we were a third, fourth, limited fifth echelon shop, which meant we could fix it as well as rebuild it.
Okay.
So hands-on, I'm loving this. Okay. So I get sent to Okinawa, Japan, and because of what my MOS is, it puts me in the billet of base maintenance. So basically, I leave stateside, I'll go to Japan. Now I'm the guy that you call 24/7 to fix something that's broke. Not a refrigeration, not an air conditioner, you know. So, you know, that was kind of a letdown because I had spent like 14 months in my field actually building things, not just turning it on and running it, this, and that, and the other. So I was there for a year. They sent me back to El Toro. I was there for about another 2.5 years. And then they sent me back to Okinawa, Japan, basically the same unit, doing the same thing. That would be 87, 88. And then that's when I got out. But the whole time in, I would say the whole time in, you know, starting in 82, because I was in the Marine Corps then, I was a competitive bodybuilder. And, you know, people that are in the military, they'll know what I'm talking about when I say it wasn't easy being a competitive bodybuilder in the military up to a point, because, you know, you got to be able to fit your uniforms. You got to be able to pass the PFT. You have to eat a certain way. So there were a few things that it's not that I went against the grain. I had to figure it out so I could still do what I wanted to do and still be in the, you know, in the confines and the parameters of being a United States Marine.
I would imagine back in the 80s that would have been slightly more challenging, because like if you kind of look at it now, there is a lot more sort of emphasis on different types of sort of fitness, conditioning, training. Like I would imagine, like if you took CrossFit from now and put it back then, it'd be something which they're like, what the hell is this? But right now, so I would say today's military, there are a lot of people doing a lot more sort of functional fitness.
Yeah. And one of the things I can say this, it would be like a low intensity CrossFit, because in boot camp, you know, it's all about conditioning and, you know, being physical, this, that, and the other, and learning how to be a soldier. But when it came time for physical fitness, or, you know, the PFT, you do certain things. You have the strength and endurance course, you have the confidence course. But there are a lot of times we would be lifting, running, stop, do an exercise, run another whatever, stop, do a lift. So we had that, but not at the level it is today. Because you got to be able to be, functional, handle your own body weight. Yep. And if you got to go hand to hand, you should be able to handle yourself. Yeah. So I would say today's training is really impactful in the military. One, because of the people that we're fighting against, and just the fact that there's more knowledge out there, and this type of training kind of covers a lot of bases.
Yeah, no, because like just over the course of over your lifetime and over my sort of lifetime as well, the way you've seen the knowledge has expanded so much. Like there are so many different facets, different branches, different so many different ways you can go. Like trying to sort of one of the hardest things for people these days is actually sort of finding the right path for them to actually get on. Because I like to run and do weights. Comparatively, there'll be someone who likes to do yoga or basically maybe do CrossFit. But it's never especially now with the way things are going, that the emphasis, I think there's going to be a larger emphasis on fitness over there when we get through this sort of dark, shadowy time, even more so. We're currently in I would say we've got a pandemic with COVID-19, but there's a great pandemic of overweight, obesity, and basically people just not taking care of themselves. So there is a lot of that what needs to be faced, and I think a lot of work needs to be done on that side of things. So it's you as a trainer yourself, I think going through gym training, going through basically full-on weight training, what has it been to see say over the last 5 years with some of the people coming through right now? What sort of things would you say would be the best advice you would give them? I know that's.
I would say I'll go back probably about 8-10 years ago when I had a certain number of clients that were early mid 40s, and this is when CrossFit was really starting to make its way on the mainstream. And it's not that I had gone to try it, but being in LA, they're all over the place. So a few of my clients, I would tell them, if you're going to see me twice a week, what are you going to do the other 5 days a week, or the other 4 days a week? And some, yoga, this and that, and some would say CrossFit. I'm like, okay, just be careful, because from what I've seen, and this is me either driving by or there might be a studio next to a place where I go and I have a chance to observe. One of the things that I saw a lot of is that they were moving weights a lot faster. And they were using compound movements in such an aggressive way. I'm like, you have to be careful. And this is one of the workouts. You got to be young. When I say young, you're late teens, your early 20s, maybe early 30s, because you've been doing this for a little while. But to jump into something like that in your, early mid 40s and older, if this is something that you don't practice, you are going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is what I experienced with those few clients, that we're doing a couple times a week. I'm like, you got to understand, you don't do this every day. You don't do this once a week. And for you to say, well, I'm just going to take a class every now and then, I'm like, you really got to watch out, because you're doing something that I do at a way different tempo, because this is how it was taught. Now, maybe the idea of CrossFit maybe stemmed a little bit from watching some of your athletic camps, like your football camps, and how they have to move weight with such force and speed, because this is what they're being graded on and timed on, this and that and the other. Maybe some of that came from that. I don't know. But, to say that this is a workout where you're going to do certain compound movements in a timely fashion and then move to the next thing. I mean, I've even seen competitions on TV to where this is a sport, this is a competitive sport. And I'm like, there's a small window that you are allowed to do this in. And if you're not conditioned to do it and keep it a strong practice, it could bite you in the ass,
Yeah. Like the people which are like at the top of the game, like, Ben Fraser and like Froning, who's like basically the GOAT of like CrossFit, 4-time champion in a row.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. But like the whole thing is like they've like these guys have got such a sort of a hard base of where they start from, where they've like had 2-3 years of doing proper Olympic lifting. So it's like, so when they sit in the pocket, like that they can sit there forever and a day. And when I've seen many a person who's done CrossFit starting out type thing, they don't have that sort of Olympic lifting background.
They don't have that base.
Yeah. And you just kind of look at it and go, why are you doing this? Why? Like if you want to do this, please do the lifting first, then you can come into this later. But they're not.
Yes.
By all means, because it's on trend and they're not being patient, it's like Jesus. CrossFit's good, but I also think it's the devil in some regards, for like many a person.
Yeah, I mean it's and one of the things that my mentor taught me years ago: leave your ego at the door. Okay. And it's not that I've ever been an ego lifter, because your ego will get you hurt, But when he said that, it gave me a feeling of, okay, well, this is all about coming in, doing it right, getting the benefits of it, and being the best at it. And one of the credits that I give, or that I have, is I give to the U.S. The United States Marine Corps powerlifting team, because at the time when I was at El Toro, 82, 83, 84, I would work out around them because they would come in a certain time of day. And then I got to know them. And, this is where I was taught powerlifting. And to see these dudes come in there and just go by the numbers, by the steps, which is why 1984, I think it was a Long Beach powerlifting contest, I won. A friend of mine talked me into it, and I won the meet. I didn't get best lifter, but I won the meet, And I mean, this is where you see a guy that might be 167 pounds, and he's squatting damn near 500 pounds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So technique. I mean, I feel fortunate and blessed to be taught by the greats that I was taught back in the day, because this is all you had was technique. If you don't have great technique, you're going to hurt something. You're going to break something. You're going to tear something. Yeah.
And coming back from an injury is like if it, like, God willing, it's slight and you're back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
If it goes really wrong.
Then it's months.
Yeah. Months. And like, even if you fully recover, getting that sort of
Oh,
confidence
totally.
back
Yeah. Yeah.
is like quite a hard
Yeah.
battle.
Yeah.
So,
It's hard. And that old time bodybuilder that told me to work my legs and back the hardest, Bill Pearl.
Bill Pearl.
Bill
Okay.
Pearl. Yeah.
Yeah. Legs
Yeah.
and back. Hey, if
Oh,
it's like
yes.
legs, it's all about the core. It's like, yeah. So wow. Like one of the things I always get from your Instagram that like it's your true, like I haven't seen any pictures of your kids or anything like this. Haven't like, don't know if you're married or anything like that. But there's like, you have one true love above all, which comes like, I think it might over working out, doing training people, it might even come second to it. What do you think I'm talking about?
My daughter?
No, like I think your daughter looks at this object and sometimes wonders. Your Jeep.
Oh, my Jeep. Yeah, that was going to be the next thing.
yeah. Your daughter knows. She's like, looks at that Jeep and I was like, kicks it at times when you're not looking. Damn you, Jeep! Damn you!
Yeah, it's a good thing that certain people that know me understand my relationship with my Jeep.
Yeah, I see times I go, no family, Jeep. You've been out with Jeep, okay? Yeah, it's like,
oh wow, that's too funny. Yeah, that's I got my Jeep 4 years ago this past January.
Okay.
And I came out of a 2013 Cadillac CTS Coupe.
Okay.
The closest thing to a Jeep that I had before my Jeep would have been, what was it, 2010, I think it was? No, even before that. It was an FJ Cruiser.
Okay.
Yeah, me and a friend of mine, and this is around 2008, yeah, because that's when that whole housing thing, whatever, did the thing. And I was in a CLK 430 Mercedes Benz, and then got rid of that and went to the FJ Cruiser. Manual transmission. Had never taken it off road. Didn't know anything about off road. I would just look at it and say, just in case I need it, I have it.
Yeah.
And whatever. Got rid of that. Then got a Prius. Saved the world and stay green.
Okay, that didn't last long.
yeah. And then I got my Cadillac because I needed something different. And actually, I had gotten tired of the Cadillac. And I was like, I think it's time to get a Jeep so I can roll over shit. Didn't know what I was manifesting. Had no idea what I was actually saying, because I went and got it. This would be January 2016. I got Hydro Blue, manual transmission.
Yeah.
And I get it. I'm like, yeah, now I can roll over a curb or drive through a puddle, blah, 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 blah. And I get to the gym, and one of my friends was like, so what are you going to do with it? I'm like, what are you talking about? You're going to lift it? You're going to put rims and tires? I'm like, yeah. He goes, I got the perfect place for you to go. So he sends me to 4 Wheel Parts. Talk to Tim. He'll hook you up. I'm like, okay, cool. Now I've got no conception on how much money one puts into starting to, build their Jeep up or whatever. So I go into 4 Wheel Parts in Van Nuys, and I asked for Tim. I'm talking to Tim, and I'm like, so, I'm thinking about putting some rims and tires and whatever lift on my Jeep. So can I do this for about $2,000? He's like, yeah, if you just want to get 4 tires. I was like, oh, okay. He goes, so let me break it down to you. So he tells me this, that, and the other, blah, 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 this, that, rims, tires, a suspension, bumpers, this and that. He goes, everything I'm going to set you up with, X amount of dollars, and you'll be able to do 90% of what's out there with your Jeep. I'm like, no shit.
Yeah.
Now, again, I have no knowledge of four-wheeling or nothing like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So I get my Jeep. A couple days later, it's all, it's 3.5 inch lift. It's on 35-inch tires, rims. It's got a mid-arm suspension, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, cool. So I meet up with another friend of mine, and I go on this beginner's run. Where was that? I think Gorman. Yeah, Gorman.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of us, and this is my very first run off-roading. And of course it's, sketchy as all get out. And that's pretty much it. And from that point on, dude, I've had my Jeep looking up at the sky, climbing up a rock like this. Then I've been to where, is this going to tip over? Because I'm holding on to the handle, 4 years later. Yeah, I can't believe the relation. Now too, mind you, talking to all the Jeepers.
Yeah.
My truest girlfriend is my Jeep. That's what I'm gonna say.
No, I couldn't tell. No, I've got to say, I have seen some videos on YouTube about what Jeeps have been doing and stuff like this. Like Jeep coming along, slows right down, and they're like, it's first the wheels hit like a vertical piece of rock. It's like slowly up.
Yeah.
Get over. I'm like going, how the fuck does it do that? It is quite trippy. Because look, okay, like there's like the 4-wheel drive car is like over here. It's the Range Rover, like Discovery,
right. Yeah, respectable. Yes,
respectable. Like I might be wrong about this, but they basically took the Jeep's chassis from back in the day, and that's like, okay, we'll do this and we'll put this on, and and you go, right. But I've got to say this: even on the high-end Range Rover, I have never seen a Range Rover like go, hey, look, it's a little bit of a cliff face, la 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 la. Up we go. Oh, then up and over. No, I have never seen that. And I've got to say, like Jeeps, like you remember that Popeye character, Eugene the Jeep? What they're named after.
Yeah, the Jeep. Yes, Jeep.
That mental. I understand why you love it.
The funny thing about the Range Rover, as I've, been around Jeep now for like 4 good years, and you hear certain things, you talk to old timers and that and the other, the Range Rover was built to do what the Jeep does. And if you go and do some investigating, the, what's it called? You got the Land Rover. You've got
Land Rover Discovery,
but there's even one that's even older than those that is very, very respected in the off-road community. It's the
I think I know what you're talking about. It's a very old style looking vehicle. God damn!
Because guys on certain off-road shows have compared that one to the Jeep, and it ain't no joke. It ain't no joke, but the Jeep was made to be able to fix on the trail.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've seen everything from an axle brake, drive shaft brake. I mean, the only thing that I've not seen fixed on the trail is an axle brake. I've seen a ball joint fix. I've seen a U-joint fix on the trail. I've actually seen people weld on the trail. So the Jeep, the Jeep is a vehicle that, because it's very easy to work on, and I tell you, I should have did this years ago.
Yeah. So like from what I've seen, like from like your Instagram, there is a rather small, I wouldn't say small Jeep community. I would say there is a healthy Jeep community out there. Basically, yeah. I could like from what I'm hearing, it seems
Mm.
like there is. It seems like it might be a two-tiered system. People who just buy a Jeep just for going around, and then people who
Our
get a
Jeepers, damn
Jeep.
it,
Yeah.
yes.
It's like yeah. So it's like yeah.
You know, it's it's funny you bring that up because you know, there's this thing called the Jeep Wave, you know,
Okay.
and it basically comes with owning a Jeep,
Yeah.
you know. So whether you see a person coming at you in another Jeep and you know their hands on the steering wheel, you'll either get a wave,
Yeah.
you'll get this, you can get, you know, this, you can get this, but as you're driving, um, and one of the ongoing jokes, you know, with Jeeps is people that have Jeeps that don't wave back, you know,
Oh,
because you know there's nothing that looks like a Jeep on the road. It's like you can't miss a Jeep,
no.
you know, and it's like, didn't somebody tell you, you know, didn't your salesman tell you that when you buy a Jeep, you're going to get waved at by another Jeep? You need to return the wave.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't sell this if you're not going to buy into the community of
Yeah,
Jeep
yeah,
going
yeah,
people.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
are going to
yeah,
buy into the community, here you go.
yeah.
Have your Jeep, great. But if you're not,
You got to wave.
yeah, if
You
you're
got to
not,
wave.
get out. You can't own one.
Yeah,
You shouldn't
yeah.
own one. Yes, I was like, ah, ah. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
no.
you know, it's a different world. I mean, we go out, you know, a few times a month, and for the most part, we'll camp. You know,
Mm,
we'll camp and wheel, and you know, the Jeep community. Um, I've not met. I've not met in the 4 years that I've been Jeeping. I've never had a bad time on the trail meeting other Jeepers
mm,
or anything. Like, you know, it's a universal language. You know, whether you're from a different country or whatever,
yeah,
they have Jeeps over there, then it's all one language. It's all one language, and it's pretty awesome because you know you'll be on the trail and you won't know who this group of people are, but if somebody is down, we stop. Hey, you need a hand, you need some.
mm,
I mean, anyone is going to ask if you need a hand, or they'll stop and give you a hand or whatever. So it's you know, it's really cool that I actually picked a vehicle that has such a connection, and you know it's just one playing field called off-road.
yeah. That yeah. That basically you didn't mention how much you actually spent to get to do 90% of what it does. But like look, put it this way, when you're saying 2 grand for like a set of 4 tires, like look, I think even though you love this Jeep, maybe more than your daughter, I won't like I don't want you to hear that. Mm. It's like all I got to simply say is like, yeah, like yeah. I think you look back at that bill, which you must already got it somewhere, and like you kind of like go, ah, it's like, ah,
It's a good thing that you know, like in my area, every now and then, you know, if I choose to give myself a little gift, I'll take her to get detailed because for the most part I do it myself.
yeah,
Um, and the owner of the car wash would be like, you know, I love when you come in because you're the only Jeep that looks like this. Everybody else, you know, looks all nice, but they don't do anything with it. I'm like, no, I actually use my Jeep, you know. So the fact that I put X amount of, you know, thousands of dollars into it,
yeah.
oh yeah.
Like this is the thing. With many of the sort of like Range Rovers, Land Rovers,
Hmm.
especially
Hmm.
like I'm a Londoner, like from
Hmm.
originally a Londoner, lived out in Cambridge for a period of time.
Hmm.
Basically big university college town,
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
in the east of the UK, but back in
Hmm.
London again now. Now they call them Chelsea tractors
Hmm.
because like like these will never go off road, but
Hmm.
they'll be used to transport like rather sort of upper middle class families with their kids around. And it's like they first started out in Chelsea, and then they just basically got around. So they're called Chelsea tractors. If you want a Range Rover, like a fancy 4x4, normally it's just called a Chelsea tractor. You do occasionally, you do occasionally see a Jeep, but just by the nature of a Jeep, how it just looks when it comes out of the box, it's not sort of, I need this as a Chelsea tractor. Me personally, I would, but yeah, like if you came over here with like something like that, like fully kitted out, I think you would find it very challenging to find something which will really test it, especially in the southeast, London. You know? Yeah, but further up, maybe more north, maybe.
The other Range Rover I was thinking of is called the Defender.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the one that I've seen video on that they put up against the Jeep Wrangler, and it's no joke. Yeah.
Classic. Yes.
Yeah.
No, like this is the thing. Yeah. If I had the cash, like I might be a owner of maybe a Chelsea tractor or a Defender. I won't lie.
I don't know. You never know.
Yeah.
It might still happen.
Hey, look, put it this way. Like, if I have a picture next to a Jeep, like somewhere in the near future, and I was like,
that's right. That's right.
I'll be like, damn you, Greg. Damn you, Greg. I try walking past, like damn.
Yeah. You can't.
Yeah.
That's right.
Then I'll be like, then I got it kitted out in the UK. I feel your pain.
That's right. You know what a brother's talking about.
Oh, yes. Loving it. So with regards to everything going on right now in the realms of personal training, how are you handling things? Are you basically doing more live streams, or how's that?
Well, it's this is, I would say this has been the toughest time in my training career, my training lifestyle, because it's global. It's not, just a section or a couple days. It's changing everything. And one of the things that I've really have had to work on, these past few days, and not think too much about is, yes, I do give a service. I do one-on-ones. Every now and then I do classes, but for the most part I do one-on-ones. Either you come to the gym or I come to your home. When it first hit, gyms were closing, blah, 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 blah. I was able to go in home with my clients, and then they came up with the other order. Everybody stays in. And so far for me right now, I've been checking on my clients. Some, know what to do. Some, still look forward to me checking on them to make sure that they're doing what they need to do.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten to where I've actually given a class online yet, because the way I teach my training, it's not just I'm your trainer, you're going to come work out with me. Is I'm making sure that your physical consciousness knows how to take care of itself, knows how to take care of you. So when you're in the gym with me, I'm watching your personality. I'm watching your energy. I'm watching your focus. I'm watching your attentiveness. I'm watching all these things that concern me as a weightlifter, bodybuilder, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But as the trainer, I'm making sure that I'm going to show and teach you on how I would want to be taught, and making sure that I understand everything going on. So. There's been times I've had to go on vacation, this and that and the other. And certain clients are like, so is it okay if I train with somebody while you're gone? I'm like, yes, if you need to, blah, 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 blah. But don't forget what I've taught you.
Yeah.
And then I've got other clients that know what to do and, keep themselves in line. And for the most part, that's always been my goal, is to make sure that what you're doing, you're being taught by me, because this is how I would do it for myself.
Mm.
So as we're in this week, in this time frame of all the stuff being brand new, um I'm not going to use the phrase challenging, as it's been kind of confusing and frustrating knowing that I can't go out and I'm not do computer change some of that, because I'm starting this. But for me, I've always been manual labor. I've always been
Mm.
on your feet, get out, go do the job, and more so because I love training people. I'm right there. Certain clients are like, um, "Is it okay if I call you if I need so and so?" I'm like, "No, please. My schedule is for you. My schedule
Mm.
is for my clients. It's not I have a life and you guys get fit in. No, it's I'm here for you." So, um, surprisingly enough, it hasn't it hasn't scared me in my gut because I'm not at the gym. If anything, it's got my mind turning to understand, okay, how am I going to do this? But in the same sense, people that need something know to ask.
Mm.
Certain people will kind of fake it and then they'll finally ask. Um, and certain people just know they don't need to ask. They might want you to check on them.
Mm.
So as I'm day to day going through this and journaling and just understanding what's going on around me and understanding myself as I go through this thing, is to really understand where I'm to fit in my client's life at this point. Like this morning, I made a mention, I did a session of yoga online.
Yeah.
Um, and it's such a gift and a blessing, to have this vehicle, because we can still be on our mat, we can still hear the voice of our instructor, and still go through the movements. When I'm doing one-on-one training, and I'm pretty sure something will come out of this or whatever. It's more of me being in front of you, making sure that you're picking up this heavy object or doing this certain movement
Yeah.
the way that I can see and feel you doing it. you know
Mm.
so with the practice and elements that I've used in my training practice, um, it doesn't leave too much room for question because of
Mm.
how I teach,
Okay.
as it becomes, are you doing it and are you keeping it complete? A lot of people work out and they work out, which is awesome. But I believe in your workout needs to be complete, meaning there's a start, there's a mid, and there's a finish.
Mm.
And to me, and a lot of people, the most important part would be the end. How you're ending, how are you going to finish your physique from exercising so it recovers the way it's supposed to, it recovers in a timely fashion,
Mm.
kind of, sort of. It recovers with good nutrition and a good night of sleep. Depending on your level and intensity of training, exercise, and stuff will determine how much recovery time one actually needs.
Yeah.
And this is where people run into the overtraining element, because they're thinking a night's sleep, if it's a perfect night of sleep, is enough and I'm fine. I'm like, okay, well, something else I teach too is listen to your body.
Mm.
Well, now that you say that, yeah, I kind of did hear my body say I didn't want to train today, but I'm like, no, I got energy, I can do it. I'm like, so how did you
Uh,
end with that? Well, not that great, because I didn't sleep that great last night because I was kind of restless and this and that. I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
this is, you know, this is, this is, um, this is one of the main things that one needs to pay attention to if you're going to exercise, work out, is recovery time.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I would say when you're doing training remotely, there is
Mm-hmm.
this slight disconnect which you
Mm-hmm.
don't ever get when you have that
Mm-hmm.
face-to-face contact,
Mm-hmm.
because like, yeah, just like as you say, being able to read how someone's doing the workout and basically help say adjust here, just do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where you kind of look at it and go, yeah, you can easily go right, especially if
Yeah.
you built a relationship with them and go, this is what you need to do and this isn't how you need
Mm-hmm.
to adjust things. I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people who are in like the personal training community are like, well, I think they're all, it's weird because this sort of, it's all come pretty much at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So basically everyone kind of is in the same boat together. So it's kind of difficult. Well, I would say it's difficult for the whole community as a whole, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing people trying to adjust and adapt. I know a friend of mine. We're currently on Zoom at this present time. It's like he asked me about how to do a Zoom setup. I went, okay, do it this way, that way, but to sort of get it, sort of having the wide angle to have all the equipment and stuff like that, it's I said to him, it can cost a healthy chunk of change. Like,
Yeah.
doing it on a webcam, you can do it, but you might not get in all of the movements and like what you might
Mm-hmm.
want to do. So there's that additional expense. So I was like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
by all means, you can do it, can make it happen, but it ain't like it's going to be a challenge, say.
Yeah.
Now, so yeah, I think many a person out there in the like personal training community or in the fitness community as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it it will be a struggle. And like basically over here, they were talking about 12 weeks or like altogether. Um, so early June for
Yeah.
many a person, and like you know what I mean. I know it's been locked down from gyms for you guys for I think about 2 weeks before us. So you might,
Yeah. Pretty close to it.
yeah. So you might have another 10 weeks of this, and like when I say 12 weeks, 10 weeks, that is on the projected side, and that might be on more on the optimistic side. It
Yeah.
might be a little bit longer, which
Yeah.
for the love of God, I don't think no one wants that at this present time because it'll be too painful to bear. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I know, I know, yeah, really wish, yeah, just find it hard. Like it's very hard at this moment in time sometimes to find that sort of like, yeah, that positive moment, that beacon of light. But the whole thing is we've gone through, like human race has gone through a lot tougher things. And the
Yeah.
whole point is this hard moment, this tough times will pass and there'll be
Mm-hmm.
greater opportunities which will arise from this.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. Now, other people might see it differently, but I do see there will be a positive turn at the end of it. There's going to be greatness coming for us all.
Okay, there you are.
Yeah. Oh, might be jumping around. Yeah. But yeah. Yes. Blimey. We've been going at this for an hour and a half, I believe. Yeah. What I like to say is, yeah, would you be able to tell the lovely people out there where they'll be able to find you on the social medias?
Oh yeah. I think you know that I've got two Instagram pages. One is physique _ connoisseur IFBB Pro.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Gregory. Uh-oh. Oh, no, you might have to repeat that because the computer went a little bit funny. Could you repeat that for me? Because
Did
you
you get the
froze.
first page? Physique _ connoisseur IFBB Pro.
Yes, got that.
And then the second page is Lucille LUCEIL 0216 underscore JK.
Excellent. Do you have a YouTube channel?
I have a YouTube channel. I think is it Gregory Allen? I think it's, the YouTube channel is on my bio on my physique page, on my Physique Connoisseur Instagram page.
Yep. Okay. What I'll also do, I'll put the links in the description down below as well. So people can find you, get in contact with you, and hopefully get in contact with you to tap into that font of knowledge you have in there, from workouts to Jeeps. I know how you like them. So, and we can see how things go from there. Take things
totally
on a positive on a positive note. Okay. I'd like to say thank you for doing this today, Gregory. I'm like, no,
thank
fuck
you
it.
so much. I am honored. I am honored to speak with you today. It's been a good thing.
Yes, and hopefully this will be the first of many a conversation. So yes, I say thank you to Gregory the Hammer Reed.
Thank you much, Roy.
Cheap connoisseur, like Hollywood Marine, and outstanding good chap. Perfect.
You do a great job, Roy. You as well.
No problem. Wait right there for a moment. I'm just going to stop this. Boom.